Okay, so thank you, AD. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here on time. So this is our second day of our seminar promoting self-regulated learning in English language teaching. So remember our rules of the use of Zoom. Please keep all of us to keep our mics off, and that will help the presenter and the session to be smooth without background noises. If you have a question, remember to just lift your hands and the presenter will allow you to talk. Or it will probably tell you, wait a little minute and we'll do it after. To begin, I would like to share this quote. It says, ask yourself if what you are doing today is getting you closer to where you want to be tomorrow. And I'm sure, well, I ask myself every single day that. And I think that helps me to focus on my goals, because everything that I do is because I want to do something different. I want to gain, at this point, we want to gain more information, learn more strategies, learn new things in order to enhance our teaching process. With that said, remember that this seminar is organized with the English Department Committee and with the support or help of the Extension and Continuing Education Coordination, with Professor Florencio Diaz, who is the director, and Edikel Santimateo, who is the administrative coordinator. And this is an online modality seminar. So after, you will be able to see or watch the video at any time if you miss any part of the seminar. With that said, we call on Professor Daniel Lowe, who is going to talk to us today about practical classroom metacognitive strategies for English teaching. So everything else from now on is with Professor Daniel Lowe. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Good afternoon, everybody. And may I say that apart from questions, I think one thing that was very successful and enriching about yesterday's session was people sharing their experiences and their ideas that were relevant to the points that we were discussing. So like I said yesterday, not everything that I'm talking about is necessarily new. It's just that we're putting it into some kind of logical framework. So like yesterday, many teachers were sharing examples of activities that they had carried out in their classrooms. And I'm sure that many of their colleagues found those descriptions interesting. And it's, so yeah, if you have something that you'd like to share that you think is like an example of what we're discussing, please don't hesitate to raise your hand and I will, give you the floor. So, the idea here is not just that I am like telling you things, but that we're sharing our experience and wisdom as a group as well. So please don't feel in any way inhibited, and the more the merrier. Yesterday, there were some really nice ideas, which I was taking notes and I'm going to be maybe trying out in my classroom too. So this is all about sharing and pooling our knowledge. So yesterday, we were talking about learning power, and we looked at Guy Claxton's 17 learning muscles, which we were placing into different categories. I will be later today uploading the answer sheet so that you can download that and refer to it. And I will also share with you the books that I was recommending. Yesterday, no, I won't be sharing the books, but I'll be sharing the titles so that you can, if you're interested, you can follow up on that. And then the final thing that we spoke about was Art Costa's mind habits, or habits of mind. And I asked each of you to watch the 16 videos. There were 2 videos for each one, and to consider or choose the 3 that you thought were most interesting, and then create an activity that you think could promote that mind habit. So I was just quickly looking on the Google Classroom. I haven't had a chance to look at it like in a detailed way yet, but there looks like there's some interesting ideas being shared. I just wondered, we could maybe spend a few minutes if anybody would like to share the one mind habit that particularly caught their attention, and to explain to us why they thought that was so interesting for a language teaching context. Please raise your hand if you have a question, if you would like to share. Don't be shy. Okay, Pedro Vanella, I can see that in the chat you said you had a question. Would you like to just quickly ask your question?
Well, yesterday I had the opportunity to send you the first assignment, but
Okay.
I am not sure if I send it to the right email, because I'm just taking the seminar, and I'm asking you if you can check up if I send my assignment to the right email. Please.
Okay. So the idea is not to send the. Are you registered on the Google Class?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So
because I received your the invitation.
So
today,
is it possible for you to upload the homework there?
Well, I have to check up now.
Okay. Yeah, it would be, I think the idea is to use the Google Classroom as the place where we upload our homework, because you can imagine if I receive an email from all of the course participants, we have more than 50 people, it would be very difficult for me to keep track, right? So if you wouldn't mind just checking whether you've uploaded it to the platform, and if you have any doubts, of course, then you can send me an email and I can look into it.
Right.
So,
right. Okay, I will.
Okay. Did anybody want to share about the mind habits? Yes, so, Teacher Osiris. Please go ahead, teacher.
Okay, hello everyone. Well, yes. Let me go ahead and put down my cell phone. Remember, I'm using 2 devices. Okay. I was watching the videos, and honestly, I have to say that all of them are very, very interesting videos. It was very hard for me to just to choose 3 of them to explain. I wanted to do it with all of them together. Okay, but in my case, I found that, for example, persistent, remaining open to continuous learning, but also striving for accuracy.
Oh, okay.
I think that they 3 can work together pretty good. Pretty good. We can make an activity for all of these 3 habits together. And one of my example that I started, thinking and about different activities for students, especially for elementary students, it's like when we start teaching the fruits, different fruits name and shapes. I remember I used to give them like an apple, for example, and they have their eyes closed and they have to start, touching and smelling the fruit in order to know, or at least to think about what fruit they are or they have in their hands, But for that one also, remaining open to continuous learning, it is hard to know it, but some students didn't figure out, what fruit they have on their hands. Sometimes they were confused about an orange or an apple. But they was, keeping trying once after the other one. And that is also, to me, that is also striving accuracy for accuracy. So I just wanted, to share my experience and my point of view with these videos.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm glad that you found them all interesting. And I think that having this checklist, like I said before, maybe some of them you're already doing, and that's great. But by having this checklist, it makes us aware that, okay, maybe I have to recycle. So every year I want to touch these 16 habits. How many times can I touch each one? And, you can have like a little table where, okay, I did this one in week 1, and now I'm going to work on this one, and maybe have a slightly more structured approach. And I agree that striving for accuracy is very, very relevant to language teaching, right? So we often talk about accuracy and fluency as being two different things on a continuum, right? But accuracy is important, and promoting the idea, making students feel proud about trying to do their best to be accurate. Obviously, not making them feel uptight or nervous if they make mistakes, but striving for accuracy. So, what examples could we have for accuracy in English? What would be examples of accuracy? Anybody?
To be correct.
But correct in what, though? Can you be more specific?
To be correct about your answer, whatever you're doing.
Okay.
Accurately.
Let's think about different elements of language, though. I mean, yes, you're right. Accuracy and being correct are basically synonyms. But can we be more precise about which aspects of language particularly are relevant to accuracy?
Maybe getting the correct meaning of words.
Okay, so meaning is definitely relevant. Teacher Erica? Yeah.
Using the appropriate grammar.
Okay, excellent. Grammar is a really good example of accuracy. So, for example, one of the most common problems that learners have is the S with the third person singular, right? We are constantly battling, trying to help them to get that. What else would be an example of accuracy?
Okay, I was thinking about oral reports when our students finish and we give them a feedback. Okay, and it's important for them. I consider the feedback like a gift that you accept or you don't. So when they speak, they sometimes get very anxious and they just
Right.
want to start and finish.
Yeah.
And at the end, when they finish, they say like, "Oh, I finished." It's the moment that when we give them the feedback, it is like the process for accuracy. And they are trying they need to take that time to improve for the next time. For next time,
Yeah.
after listening, yes, to my recommendations, and
Mhm.
they may do it better for next time. That's what I was thinking when I saw the video.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy Dr. Kalik explanation about accuracy. And
Okay.
it is
What did
important the process.
What did she say?
Process. Well, she mentioned, I took some notes. She mentioned about the process for getting there, that accuracy. It's the process, a process
Mm,
that the
mm,
students may or even the teachers may take into consideration in
mhm,
order to have that improvement. Oh,
mhm.
sorry for the camera. Yes,
No, yeah,
I
it's
was
fine.
thinking about that when I was watching to the two videos. But I don't know, I enjoy more the one from Kalik.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you watched both and you got different preferences. So, yeah, I mean, when we talk about accuracy, we're normally talking about something that is either right or wrong, right? So, for example, spelling, right? You either spell a word right or you spell a word wrong. Grammar, you either use the structure correctly or you use the structure with some error. Vocabulary, for example, often students make mistakes with the use of collocation, right? So they may say something like, I take water instead of I drink water, right? So those are all examples of accuracy. Now, your example, teacher Sharon, of the presentation, that is maybe a little bit more of a complex, like when you give a presentation, there's all kinds of things that go into that, right? Your tone of voice, your pronunciation, how quickly you speak. Do you speak with a tone of voice which gives enthusiasm, or do you speak in a monotone way? And all of that is much more than accuracy. Accuracy is more like, is it correct or is it not correct? Okay. So the feedback that you're describing is very important. And of course, I absolutely agree with you that it's important to provide that supportive and positive feedback but help the student understand how they can improve, right? When it comes to accuracy, we're more talking about things that can either be right or wrong, not something that is very complicated like a presentation. Do you see what I mean? Yeah? Okay, great. Sorry, go ahead. You want to respond?
I just mentioned when I was watching the videos what came to my mind.
Yeah.
But of course,
okay.
yes.
Yeah. When we talk about accuracy, it's more like things that, can be practiced in a very controlled way. Teacher Erica.
Actually, what professor is mentioning is that she emphasizes on striving, because maybe the student cannot get to that accuracy in grammar, but he's working hard to get it. The process, as she mentioned, the process on what the student is doing to be in perfect grammar or perfect vocabulary, and how they work hard to get it. I just wanted to emphasize on, because she emphasizes on the word striving.
Striving, yeah. So okay, so teacher Sharon was more focusing on the effort that the student is making to improve. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah. Did anybody else want to share any of the habits of mind that they thought were particularly interesting? I think we can see that there are many of them did overlap, right? With Claxton, it's almost like they're using different words to describe the same idea. So that was interesting that both the British and the American kind of practitioners were often kind of agreeing, you know, that these are like the 16 positive habits. So remember, guys, that this session is called self-regulated learning. And the reason why we're looking at the power of learning in relation to self-regulated learning is because the idea is that if we can develop these habits or these dispositions, as Guy Claxton calls them, if we can model and expose our students to these habits, and then they become like natural tendencies that learner can use themselves, right? Now, maybe not everybody is going to use all 16 or all 17. Maybe some of them are going to be more attractive or more interesting than others. But remember that in our classrooms, we have many different individuals. And so if we can activate all of these different habits or dispositions, then surely many of our students will be taking these strategies and making them their own. And as soon as they become their own, that they are, you know, using them autonomously, then we have self-regulation, because they are choosing which ones to use and which ones are useful to them. So I think as teachers, our role is much more than just teaching content. It is to share strategies which students can then use in the future. Teacher Veronica, are you there? I was just seeing a message. Yeah, I don't know if you are. I just saw a message about 4 people in the waiting room. Are they? Did they get let in?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad. I was just worried that maybe we had people waiting. Okay, so I'm now going to move on. So next part of the theoretical framework is to talk about metacognition. And when I was preparing for this seminar, I purchased a few books, and this was one which is relatively cheap. It's available, I believe, for about $9 in Kindle on Amazon. And it's not a big book, and it's written in quite simple language, so I found it very easy to read and to absorb. And I recommend this book is maybe a nice place to start about metacognition. So, as I said yesterday, many of these concepts that we've been talking about, like self-regulated learning, like learning power, like metacognition, they are sometimes used kind of interchangeably. It can be a bit confusing sometimes to say, well, what's the difference between these terms? And sometimes you just have to kind of accept that actually people are using these terms without distinction, which can be a little bit frustrating. But basically, metacognition is normally defined in a kind of way of saying it's thinking about thinking, okay? Or some people would say it's thinking about learning, all right? So in her book, Jennifer Webb, she presents basically 3 different categories of metacognition. She talks about knowledge, regulation, and motivation. So it's interesting that she uses the word regulation, right? Because we've been talking about self-regulated learning. So this word of regulation keeps coming up. So metacognitive knowledge, she defines as knowledge that a learner has about the task at hand, what they know about themselves as a learner, and what learning strategies they know which will help them to complete the task. So you know, we could say that in a way, like many of the mind habits or the dispositions are kind of learning strategies in a way, right? And but when you're reading a text, there's all kinds of strategies that you can use, and we as teachers need to help our students with skimming and scanning and looking for the main idea, or identifying the meaning of words through context. All of those are strategies which we have to model many, many times, and then the students will begin to become more aware, okay? And sometimes it's very useful to actually say, okay, what is this strategy called? Okay, today we're going to do some skimming. What is skimming? It's reading quickly to get the main idea. Okay, and if the students can start to actually use the word to describe the strategy, that makes them more aware of the strategy, because they know what they're not just doing it, or, you know, without thinking, they're actually doing it with some kind of awareness. Okay, and what about metacognitive regulation? Could I have a volunteer to read the description of that, please, if you put your hand up?
The learner's ability to plan, monitor, and evaluate their own learning whilst completing the task. This is about actively applying their metacognitive knowledge in real time.
Yeah, that word whilst is British English. You don't see it very much in American English. It basically is a synonym of while, okay? We say whilst, okay?
It's like all English.
Yeah, right. It's not very common in America, but it is in the United Kingdom. So interesting, right? Plan, monitor, and evaluate. So that's interesting, isn't it? That according to Jennifer Webb, metacognition is not just thinking about your learning strategies and thinking about the way that you think, but it's also about executing the planning, the monitoring, and the evaluation. So which of those three verbs happens during the activity? Plan, monitor, or evaluate during the activity?
Monitor.
What do you reckon, guys?
Monitoring.
Very good, teacher Patricia. So during the activity, the students are monitoring to see if their strategy is working. Which of those three happens after the activity?
Evaluation.
Good. So evaluation is where they decide, was it successful or could they have done it differently? And which of those three happens before the activity? Planning. Okay. So this is, according to metacognitive practitioners, whenever we get students to do something, we should encourage them to plan. We should encourage them to monitor whatever they're doing during the activity to see if it's working and whether they need to change their strategy. And then we always should ask them to evaluate the success. Okay. So teacher Javier, you put your hand up earlier. Could you be so kind as to read the text for metacognitive motivation?
Okay, sure. The extent to which a learner wants to perform a task related closely to their interest in the task and belief in their ability to succeed, self-efficacy.
Very good, thank you. So that's interesting, isn't it? That Jennifer Webb is also talking about motivation as being part of metacognition. And it's very interesting how, if you look at the symbols that she's chosen, we often distinguish between the heart and the mind, right? And when it comes to metacognitive knowledge, she's chosen the mind. And when it comes to metacognitive motivation, she's chosen the heart. So it's much more about feelings, right? And how much you believe in your ability to succeed. So is that something that we can develop in our students, or do you think that motivation is just something you either have or you don't have? Anybody like to share their thoughts on that? Erica, please go ahead.
I think that motivation is developed.
Okay.
You can develop motivation even though the students is usually not motivated, but you as a professor can motivate the students to participate or to do or to get something.
How could you give us a couple of examples of how you might do that?
Well, an easy one is sometimes we need to take the students' interest. Because
Exactly.
we choose topics that are interested to us as professors. Yeah. But maybe if we pick something that students are interested in, then they are motivated to do any task.
Exactly.
One small example.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to pick up on the last few words of Jennifer Webb's description of metacognitive motivation. She says, belief in their ability to succeed. Okay. Now, many students in English classrooms have a very low self-esteem. They think, oh, mi inglés es horrible, soy malo para inglés. So they don't believe in their ability to succeed. How can we as teachers change that and begin to have a positive influence on their self-efficacy? Can anybody share any ideas?
Well, one thing that I do with my students, they don't speak English, okay, correctly, and then we have, as Latin speaker, we have a strong accent. But even though I try to have them spell the words before they try to pronounce letter by letter, I have them learn the correct way of the spelling of the word, and thereafter I give them the pronunciation, and then we do that practice. I have them play among themselves with the spelling first, and then I will have them like try to read and make sentences, or you know, motivate them to read those sentences they create.
Very good. So what you're doing there, teacher Tanya, is you are splitting your lesson into small, like different stages, and you're setting them up for success. First, we're going to do the spelling, and you're going to do that successfully. Then you're going to practice the pronunciation, and you're going to be able to pronounce each word successfully. And then you ask them, I imagine, to put that into some kind of sentence or some kind of role play or whatever. So the important thing is, right, is to design activities which the students will be able to do. Because if we are giving them things that are too complex, or we're not setting them up for success, that's very demotivating. So it's very important to design activities which we're confident the learners can do, even if it's going to be a little bit challenging, but it's not going to be overwhelming, right? Teacher Osiris.
Yes. Well, what I learned with my student is to never tell them like, wrong answer or wrong pronunciation, or you're telling this word not good, you know, things like that, because
Okay.
before we motivate them, we have to teach them to be confident when they speak, because yes, they're learning, and I really think that I'm still learning too. Okay, I don't know everything yet, but I'm still
Absolutely.
trying.
And as soon as you think you know everything, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, I still, you know, trying. So every time in a different classes, when I asking them questions, and they are very motivated, sometimes they are not, but at least they try. I always say, you almost got it, you know, like, okay,
Yes.
good, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to keep trying, okay, but you almost get it, you know, words like that, that they will feel good.
Yeah, very good, teacher Osiris. And there's actually, I liked, you almost got it. Like what I often say is, you know, that your sentence was really great. I just want to help you make it even better. Yeah. So rather than saying, oh, you got it wrong and I'm going to correct it, you see the teacher's intervention as designed just to upgrade the student's production, not to correct, but just to help them polish, right? So that you focus on the success and then offer to help. I think that's basically what you're saying, right? Okay.
Hello.
So somebody else wanted to say something.
Yes, I would like to participate. Okay, I can say that for motivate students with low self-esteem, I can integrate them using different kinds of groups, using different kinds of techniques. That way the students will feel better, will feel with confidence, and they will share their knowledges with their partner, because most of the time is that the student just stay in the corner and the teacher didn't ask because that student didn't move and didn't raise his hand, sorry. So the thing is that we as teachers must try to motivate them in order to help them to integrate to the class, because it's supposed we are like a power for them, yes, so like a key for them. So if we don't do it, that who can do it? Because students with low self-esteem, they won't do it. So some, even not talking about children, but talking about adults,
absolutely,
too. So we as teachers have to try to help them, have to try to motivate them to engage in the different kinds of classes, trying to use different kinds of objectives, adapting to the different kinds of situations with our students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, but I think it's important, as Teacher Osiris was saying, to celebrate success. Teacher Tanya was talking about designing doable activities. So we make sure that we can give them things that they may find a little bit challenging, but they will be able to complete and achieve. And then, as Teacher Osiris was saying, to encourage them by focusing on the success and making them see that they can do it, and that this is a continuous process of upgrading and improving as we go forward, right? So I think developing the metacognitive motivation. But it's interesting how, I mean, to be honest, before I started reading about metacognition, I never really considered it to have anything to do with motivation. But many people are now saying that metacognition has three aspects to it. As we said, metacognitive knowledge, metacognitive regulation, which is the whole thing about planning, monitoring, and evaluating, and then the motivational aspect. Okay, so let's move forward. So this is Jennifer Webb's text or explanation of what she means by knowledge. Teacher Itania, would you be so kind as to read that out loud for us, please?
Yes, sir. Okay, knowledge, identifying what the text is asking them to do, recalling the things which they have been taught, and deciding which of those things would be most useful to them now. They are reflecting on their own common errors and permitting those with a clear strategy. They are remembering how they perform the last time so that they can continue their development, build on success, and address areas of weakness.
Thank you very much. Okay, so your metacognitive knowledge is all about how the strategies you use, which ones would be most appropriate. So, you know, one thing that some teachers like to do is that we're going to talk about this later, is they have the strategies actually written on the wall. So as the students become more familiar with the strategies, you can say, okay, so guys, which one are we going to use for this? Which would be a good strategy? And so you're challenging them to think about which strategies have you used before for some activity like this? Okay, so we're going to be looking at using word banks and using displays in the classroom as a way of reminding students of different strategies and helping them to be more conscious about them. Okay. Teacher Karen Arango, could you please read about the regulation, please?
Sure, of course. Regulation, they are aware of themselves, so the task, they are also able to make corrections and they go and identify trends in their behavior. Reflection following the task is a way of ensuring that they can put all of these powerful strategies in place again the next time, continuing that upward trajectory.
Very good, thank you. So regulation is much more about the actual task itself, right? The planning, the doing, and the reflection or the evaluation at the end. Thank you very much. And Teacher Zuleika, are you there? Zuleika Martinez?
Yes.
Would you be so kind as to read the text on motivation, Teacher Zuleika?
Motivation. Considering how they feel about the task before, during, and afterwards. Using strategies to inspire or reassure themselves in order to push through. The student understands that it is natural to feel nervous or lack motivation about the piece of work, but by being aware of those feelings, they can help themselves to push through and be successful anyway.
Right. That's interesting, isn't it? So let's just think about this for a moment. This is, I was quite surprised when I read this. The student understands that it is natural to feel nervous. Okay, so that is obvious. Okay, whenever you have to speak in a foreign language, it's natural to feel nervous, but it's natural to lack motivation about a piece of work. So what do you think about that, guys? You know, to actually say to your students, okay, how do you feel about this? They may say, well, I don't really like reading, you know, I don't enjoy it. You don't have to say, well, you should, you know, it's good for you. How about just saying, okay, so you don't enjoy reading this particular text, but, you know, is there anything else that maybe you do enjoy reading? But sometimes in life, we have to do things we don't enjoy, right? But making the students aware, okay, we're doing the kind of activity that I don't really enjoy particularly, but I have to do it anyway, and being aware of that. What do you think about that? Do you think that it's a good idea to do that?
Well, I think that is very interesting what it is about. Because, for example, today, some of my students, they have a presentation, and they presented different topics that I assigned them. And I could see that some of them really didn't like that topic so much, but still they did a good job.
Okay.
So yes, it's true. I think that it also happens to us. So we don't have to think that because they are students, well, it's the same as we were talking yesterday, right? We have to be a good example for them. Sometimes for us, it's not easy at all. Some assignments or something that we have to do. And also for them, it's the same. So trying to understand also in that way that it's normal, like not having motivation to do everything, because sometimes we don't. So also for students too. I think it's very interesting, that idea. I like
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead. You wanted to say something else. Did you finish, Teacher Katia?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yes. I mean, you know, obviously, if we can, sometimes it is healthy to allow the students to decide what they're going to write or talk about. And we do that because we want to give them the opportunity to speak or think or write about something that's interesting to them, because that will mean that they will engage and they will probably enjoy the process more. But there are other times when, for example, maybe we have to do some reading comprehension and the topic is simply not of interest to them. Some teachers would feel like scared of actually acknowledging, right? So guys, do you find this topic interesting? And if most of the people say, no, not really. Oh no, my class is being, you know, criticized here, or this is causing a negative vibe. But actually, how about just embracing it and saying, okay, so this particular topic, you know, half of the class do not find that interesting, but we do have to do it. It's going to be part of the class. So what can we do when we don't find something interesting? What do we have to do to make sure we still do a good job, right? Or strategies to maybe other things you can get them to do to start noticing things within the text, so that they look beyond just the topic and they start being challenged to do other things. Would anybody else like to make any observations about this?
Can I say something in this very moment?
Go ahead.
About it? You know, I have been listening my colleagues participation and thinking about what you just mentioned, and that's a challenge for a teacher every class that we bring content, readings, activities, and we usually get students a lack of interest. That's something that happens more often that we want to accept. But students, in my opinion, now after the lockdown and everything that happens, that we have to use technology, I could share this experience. Now that I teach online with all the resources and technological tools we have, I see the students with more interest because they like technology. And I had to use a lot of apps and make my classes more up to date, more suitable for students, because I use what they like: Instagram, TikToks, Facebook,
but Facebook, they said that was for Jurassic Park, but I use Facebook anyway. And I became
Jurassic Park.
yeah, for them they say, oh, teacher, that Jurassic. I said, well, that's something I know a lot how to do it. But then I got used to TikTok. I made my own TikTok classes, and they got fun.
Wow.
It was hard for me, but I had to use strategies because we had to work with sometimes asynchronic. Students had no connectivity. Well, we had to be very creative to make the knowledge go on during these last 3 years. In fact, I haven't been back yet. I'm working online. Maybe the coming year I will have students in a classroom traditionally. So anyway, I became part of their world. And I think that it's hard for a teacher. I mean, I'm not young, I'm old teacher. And I have to keep learning the new stuff and the gadgets they have.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I could reach them. You have to see how interested they were when they had to make a TikTok for class.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, finally I have students that have interest in my classes. I'm gonna die in peace now. Because that was something that really got me. Every night I went home, and now that I am in a seminar, and I feel in my car now that I stopped to listen to the seminar, I feel the confidence to share that. The lack of interest of the student. They pretend they had interest when there was an exam. You know, I said, quiz, they had to do it. But that was so impositive. And now, well, I have to become very technological. That's the language they understand.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, so I congratulate you for all of the effort that you're putting into, you know, finding ways to make your class more like attention grabbing and fun, and I applaud that. I think that's fantastic. But you know, just the other side of the coin, teacher Suri, is that in life, like there are certain things we have to accept that maybe we don't particularly like, but they're good for us. Let's give the an analogy of food, for example. You know, I mean, I don't love all vegetables, but I know that I need to eat vegetables to have vitamins and to have good nutrition. I don't particularly enjoy like doing physical exercise. I mean, I enjoy certain things, like I enjoy swimming, I enjoy cycling, but I hate running, and I don't really like going to the gym, but I do those things because I know that they're good for me. So the point I'm trying to make is that in life generally, and that obviously applies to language learning, there are going to be things that we don't particularly enjoy, but we still have to do. And I think it's healthy for us to make the students aware that, okay, there are certain things that I like and certain things I don't like, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do the things I don't like. It's just I still have to do them, and I have to learn how to overcome my opposition or the obstacles that I place. So, you know, some students just say, I don't like reading, it's boring. Okay, well, okay, maybe we can counter that by having a lesson where we have a list of 50 different text types, including graphic novels and short stories or websites or, you know, Facebook pages or Instagram pages, and making them kind of reflect, okay, well, reading is actually a very wide thing, and there are different subcategories. And actually, there are some aspects of reading I enjoy, so maybe I could do those more. But even so, in class, sometimes we're going to do things that I don't enjoy, and then I have to learn how to keep going and how to be getting good results still. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I got your point. I got your point, and definitely I'm thinking about it because it's every day. Students don't want to do. Well, we have like 50 students, and believe me, the majority of them reject reading, for instance, and or others reject learning the irregular verbs, and so on. There are so many things that they like to go to class. Maybe they have the dream idea of speaking the language, but they don't want to pay for that effort to get that knowledge acquired. Oh,
Right.
they like music and so on. So thank you for your information here, because that metacognition information. Well, and now I'm thinking about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
how
So,
because I have to believe me. Sometimes I think students hate me whenever I arrive
I'm
to the
sure
class
that's
with
not the
different
case.
faces. Yeah, they hate when it's a quiz or a parcel or a presentation, or they have to develop speech or something. And I sometimes in my English classes, I know that they are not enjoying it. And it's hard
Right.
to be a language teacher in a country where they don't have the opportunity to practice the language as they used to. So
Right.
now, well, it's a challenge. So I will keep listening, because you're giving me nice.
Yeah, I'm just trying to raise your awareness that
Thank you.
actually students saying I don't really like this doesn't necessarily need to be a problem. If they become more aware, okay, actually I don't like this, but I'm going to still do it, then that's part of becoming more aware of yourself, and being clear that, okay, we can't enjoy everything, and we have to be, if we are aware, okay, I don't like it, but I still have to do it. I think that can be a useful outcome for students. I saw there was somebody who was with their hand up. Did somebody want to say something?
Good afternoon, Mr. Lowe.
Yes, sorry, Belgica, teacher Belgica.
That's okay. A lot of people have very good point of view. This is good. I was laughing. This lady was talking about technology, because this is what they really like. But talking about reading, it is mandatory. It is important. There are a few things that we cannot say, oh, I cannot do it because you don't like it. We have to do it. So we have to find a strategy to teach. So what I want to share is a little technique that I use. For instance, in elementary, I love elementary students. I used to give them chunks. They read in chunks. They form groups. They read part of the reading, not the whole reading content. So it's going to be easier, not boring. Also, I like to use graphic organizer. We have a bunch of graphic organizers. We can break down the content, and they like it. If they discuss, if we need to do or make the reading interactive, questions, answers, and so. Because if you leave it everything to the students, oh, read this, they don't like it. They don't like it at all.
Thank you very much, Teacher Belgica. So I think that all of the strategies that you've mentioned are really valuable ways of making the experience of reading more engaging and maybe more varied. Do you, Teacher Belgica, do you also try to actually like promote why reading is important to your learners? Like, what are the benefits?
Yes, I do, always.
What kind of benefits do you emphasize?
Fluency in reading, grammar, well, everything is hand by hand, see? But especially pronunciation, vocabulary knowledge. Because when you read a lot, you have, wow, you develop vocabulary words, especially students that need to develop that. If they have it, they can improve it. I always emphasizing on that.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, I mean, more and more I'm convinced that reading is such an important thing. And if we can find a way to get students to read, even if it's just 1 or 2 pages at home, I know it's sometimes challenging because of the resources. You know, you maybe don't have the books, or you can't make the copies, or they don't have the devices. But if you can find a way to provide them with a text that is at their level, and get them into the habit of reading, it just has such an amazing impact on language acquisition. There's something, many of you may have come across this phrase. I'm just going to put it in the chat now. They're called graded readers, right? So these are books that have been, if you Google graded readers, like all of the publishers in EFL have graded readers, and they're basically books that have been written at different levels of language complexity. So you can choose for beginners, you can choose the A1 books, and that is motivating because the students are only being exposed to language which is just a little bit above maybe their level as a beginner. And then when they have, you know, established themselves at an A1 level, you can try them with an A2 book. And again, it's just above their level, so it's not overwhelming, but they can understand most of the language, but they're picking up new words here and there. There are websites available with free graded readers, so you could use those and experiment with your students. I really recommend graded readers. I remember when I was learning Spanish, there was a series of books called El Barco de Vapor, and it was like, they instead of having like language complexity like A1, A2, B1, B2, it was more like age groups, like apto para niños de 4 años or 5 años, 6 años. And I remember, I mean, I started learning Spanish when I was 28, and the first book I bought was intended for a 4-year-old. So that was quite a funny, you know, feeling. But and then, you know, slowly I moved up the ages, and it was quite an interesting experience. So yeah, if you haven't experimented with graded readers, I definitely recommend that. Okay, let's continue. So we've been talking about motivation and how we as the teacher can develop a sense of motivation by trying to make the class more inspiring or interesting, but also to get students to reflect on what they like and what they don't like, and how sometimes having a lack of motivation is normal, but we have to be aware of those feelings and we have to push through and be successful anyway. Okay, so this is the metacognitive phases that a lot of people talk about: the planning, monitoring, evaluation, and in the middle of everything is reflection, right? So when you're planning, you are reflecting, because you're reflecting, okay, on the task and what strategies you've used before, what mistakes you've made before. So you're reflecting. When you're monitoring, you're reflecting on how well you're doing. Is the way you're doing the task working, or do you need to change your strategies? And afterwards, you're obviously reflecting on how successful you were, or if you could do things differently next time. Okay, so we've talked about the power of learning, and now we're talking about we've talked about the power of learning, and we've talked about metacognition. Now we're talking about self-regulated learning. And I have this quote from Zumbrum, Tadlock, and Roberts from 2011. And if I could ask teacher Yidis Flores, could you be so kind as to read this text for us?
Yes, of course. Okay, it says self-regulated learning. Self-regulated learning is a process that assesses studies. Let me change my screen. Okay, that assists students in managing their thoughts, behaviors, and emotions in order to successfully navigate their learning experiences.
Right, thank you. So So we have three different things that they're regulating: their thoughts, their behaviors, and their emotions. So again, this is very similar, isn't it, to what we were looking at before with metacognition, where we talked about knowledge, we talked about the procedures when they're doing an activity. You could call that behaviors. And then the emotion or the heart, which could be emotion.
Yeah, Professor, and they really affect students when the students are acquiring the second language. What I have realized so far is that they don't want to be exposed to be ridiculous in front of the students, right? They don't want to be exposed to make mistakes.
Right.
Emotions, the behaviors, the thoughts, how they see themselves, how they behave, how they react, the emotion, the support each other in the classrooms. It's particularly unsuitable for them when they are not ready to present or to give to perform a task or anything that they have to do, right? Get worried about it. They got frustrated and they don't want to be exposed, you know, to be embarrassed in front of the rest of the students, because we have students that they know more than others. Yeah, so that's the problem that we have. We have like a tutti frutti, right? In classrooms, something like that, right? So we have some students that they are very good at speaking, you know, producing languages and giving presentations, but there are some others that maybe they are good in readings and maybe in spelling and so on and so on. So so that's something that I try to measure, and I try to put in, you know, in balance. Yeah, that they for each other and they can, you know, continue and going on doing the different assignments or tasks, right? And do not judge them, because when you know, expose them to judge, okay, and the pronunciations, because here a problem that we have with the pronunciation, because we don't teach phonetic transcription with spelling. So yeah, some things that I try, you know, to tell them, don't feel bad. It's a natural approach, you know, making mistakes when we are learning. Perfect.
Thank you, teacher. So is your first name Yiddish?
Yes.
You're the only person I've ever met with that name. That's that's a unique name.
Yeah, right. Very strange and very old, right? I don't like it at all, right? But my mother called me that way. Yeah, Yiddish. But you can call me with the last name Flores, right? To keep in your mind.
Right. No, well, your first name is difficult to forget.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you. I want to take it as a compliment, Professor. Thank
exactly.
you.
It was intended as a compliment. So thank you very much, Teacher Yiddish. So one thing I would like to add to what you said is that I think that, you know, it's normal for teachers to say, oh, you know, making mistakes is part of the process. Don't worry about making mistakes. Embrace your mistakes. You learn through your mistakes. That's something we all say. But how often do we say it's normal to feel nervous, okay? And have a discussion with the students and to say, okay, when do you feel nervous? Do you feel nervous? Give them a list of situations when you're going to give a presentation, when you're going to read, when you're going to listen. What are the things that make you nervous? And then maybe have a discussion about what can we do when we feel nervous? Do we just like shut down and that's it? Or what strategies can we use? So, for example, making students say, well, if I practice, probably I'm going to feel less nervous. If maybe you can have some kind of meditation or breathing exercises to help them stop feeling so nervous. But I think that making students aware that certain things make them feel nervous, and that's not a problem, you know, it's like part of life. I don't know if anybody else would like to comment on this.
I usually bring to them music, right? So let's sing together and to practice pronunciations words, and maybe some of the pronunciations words are related to the words that they have to present and so on. So I try, you know, to make it suitable for them and to adapt in the way that they can see the connection between all the assignments that we are doing. That's what I do, right? Music for them.
Thank you very much, teacher. Okay, so moving on, we know that self-regulated learning is considered to be managing thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. And so I said earlier that sometimes it's impossible to kind of distinguish between these phrases, but here is a way that maybe you can distinguish. So metacognition is monitoring and controlling your thought processes. Well, Jennifer Webb said it was more than that, but this is one way of looking at it. Self-regulation is monitoring and controlling your emotions and behaviors. Self-regulated learning is the application of metacognition and self-regulation to learning. So I think maybe that is a nice way of seeing how metacognition is part of self-regulated learning. To be honest, I mean, if I go back to this slide here, really we could say that what Jennifer Webb in her book presents these three ideas as being metacognition, really what she's saying, this is self-regulated learning. So for many people, metacognition has gone beyond just being aware of your thoughts and your learning strategies and styles. It's become something much bigger. It's become basically what people now talk about as self-regulated learning. So there's a huge overlap, and sometimes those words are used by people interchangeably. Okay, so it's easy to get confused. I would just say that now metacognition and self-regulated learning, in the opinion of many practitioners, is almost the same thing. Okay, so here we have some different domains, like the word domain refers to areas. So the practitioner Shankar in 2013 explored self-regulation through 5 domains. So firstly, the biological domain, in other words, our bodies, the level of energy and, not just energy, but I suppose how we feel. The emotional domain is related to how we feel about something, if it's positive or negative, or whether we're nervous. The cognitive domain looks at mental processes, things like memory, attention, acquisition, and retention of information, and problem solving. And then the social domain relates to the child's ability to use social cues to act in an appropriate manner. And the pro-social domain represents how individuals act with others in their environment. So all of these domains are different things that we need to help our learners become better at self-regulating. So, for example, let's think about the first one, the biological domain, okay? We are all teachers. Some of you are teachers at school level, others at university level. Let's imagine we're in the school, okay? And it is the last class of the day, all right? The students are very, very tired. And so obviously their biological domain is something which we have to be aware of, and they have to be aware of. So what could we as teachers do to make them aware of the fact that they're feeling tired, and what could we do to maybe help them get out of that? I think teacher Karen, did you want to say something?
No, I will think about it.
Okay.
You said that when a student is tired, what we can do.
So it's the last class of the day. Everybody looks tired. They don't really look like they want to be engaging in academic stuff. So what do? Just say, okay, let's watch a movie instead, or what can we do?
Maybe I can ask them, okay, what will you do during your next vacations? And everybody will raise their hand and will tell you, I will do this, and this, or I will go out, or I will be abroad, the country, I will be with my parents, I will go to the beach. And everybody will want to participate because this is a topic that everybody wants to talk. So I think that it's a topic in common.
So choosing a topic which is more like inspiring and interesting. But remember that a lot of what we're talking about, Teacher Karen, in all of these discussions is making students aware. How could we make them aware that they're tired?
Okay, try to...
I mean, what questions could we ask?
Try to get them tools that help them to engage to the classes.
Okay, but let's just start with, we want to make them aware of the fact that they're tired. Okay. How can we do that?
Sorry, Mr. Lowe, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Teacher Manuel.
This is Manuel Falquez speaking. Listen, it's a difficult question, especially if you're teaching classes 5:30 in the afternoon. Students are hungry. They're just waiting for the bell to ring to go. Many students will not pay attention to what you're saying. So you will have to try to get something that really calls attention back. Because listen, with an empty stomach, you can't function. And it happens every day. Our Panamanian students, some of them may not even have breakfast. Some even they may not have lunch. And sometimes they're thinking what they will have for dinner or for supper. So it's very difficult. We will have to put ourselves in our student shoes, because as teachers at that time of the evening, we are also tired and hungry. That is my participation. Good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah, thank you for your participation. And yeah, thank you for, raising the question about, like, obviously there are certain schools where the socioeconomic profile of the area means that, as you say, students are coming from very depressed backgrounds, maybe, and maybe they are, genuinely hungry. But maybe what I was trying to suggest was that perhaps, it sometimes is healthy to actually acknowledge that we're tired rather than pretending we're not. So one thing I could maybe do is, okay, guys, so it's the last class of the day, and I'm wondering how you're feeling right now with your energy levels. So why don't you, there's a little square of paper in front of you, and I want you to write from 1 to 10 how you feel. So 10 is like your maximum energy, and 1 is like you're about to collapse because you don't have any energy. And actually getting them to reflect, how do I feel now? Do I feel, how tired am I? Maybe if they put and you can get people to explain, give a little bit of information about how they're feeling, and actually draw their attention to it. And then we could perhaps have a conversation like, okay, so when we're feeling tired in a school or work setting, what can we do? What can we do to wake up? What can we do to, obviously, if you're hungry, there's not much you can do except eating. So, you'd have to be sensitive to those situations. But if it was more tiredness, there are certain things that you can do, like, for example, breathing exercises. Often we feel tired because our breathing actually goes down, and that's why we yawn, right? Because yawning is because your body is saying, I need more oxygen, and so you take a big breath, and that's why your body makes you yawn. So getting the students to be aware of their energy levels and say, okay, everybody's tired, number one. Number two, are there any things that we can do? Maybe some breathing exercises, or let's just get up and do a 5-minute, like, I don't know, physical movement and see if that helps. And then, yeah, as teacher, I think Yiddish was saying, have activities which are more engaging, perhaps. So when you're planning your lessons as a teacher, it's vital to take into consideration what time of day the lesson is going to take place, okay? Whenever we have new teachers, it's one of the things that I always say to them is, don't do reading exercises in the last class of the day, because it's just not going to work. They're not going to want to do it, So we have to plan, not just, thinking about the curriculum, but also what time of day our class is, right? Now, if your class is always the end of the day, then you've got a problem. But, that's what I just wanted to share there. But your point was completely valid. Teacher Erica, did you want to make a contribution?
Actually, in high school, I give classes to students that goes the whole day because they study agriculture. So they go in the morning from 7 o'clock, and the other classes, they take it in the afternoon. And it's really difficult to motivate the students to do the assignments due to their tiredness, their hungriness, whatever, the feelings they had. As you mentioned, I always take some minutes because I ask them what they did in order to be so tired. So in that way, they feel that you care for them, that you don't go there and push them knowledge and do this and do that. So I take some minutes to ask them, what did they do? And okay, maybe try to make them think that what they have done is for their best, things like that. And then I say, hey, really quick, let's do this activity so you can finish the day, make them feel important and that you are aware that they are tired. And, it's the last hour of the day, so they are exhausted.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Okay, so just to go back, so as the practitioner Shankar reminds us, there are 5 basic domains, and all that I wanted to the point I want to make here is that many teachers focus almost entirely on the cognitive domain, and they don't really take into consideration the biological, the emotional, the social, or the pro-social. So I think, again, when we have these frameworks, they can act as important like checklists when we're planning our lessons. Okay, how am I going to help my students, self-regulate their biological domain? Because, sometimes the opposite is also true, right? We've been talking about students who are tired and, I don't want to work anymore. But has anybody had the opposite example where the students are just coming from recess and they've been playing soccer or they've been running around and or maybe they've been eating some kind of drinking soda and they're hyperactive, and then they come into your class and you want them to do a reading and they're just like going crazy? What can you do as teachers to make the students calm down and to make them aware of the fact that they're hyper and they need to calm down? Can anybody share any ideas?
When When I was
Teacher Veronica.
Yeah, when I used to teach kindergarten, after recess, what I used to do was breathing exercise. Like, okay, because they were like, crazy. So, okay, I counted until 3 and I said, close your eyes, we are going to breathe. The same time, come on, close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, silence, close your eyes. They close their eyes. Okay, let's breathe. And we do that 3 times. And then the 4th time, we hold the breathing until they can no longer hold it. And then that will just calm them down, and then we could start classes. But breathing is really effective.
Yeah. And maybe asking questions like, okay, did you enjoy your recess? Yes. And do you think that right now you are ready for the class? And probably they'll say, no, we're not ready because we're still too, hyper or whatever. And so, and so after the meditation or the breathing exercise, then you ask them, okay, are we ready for class now? Yes, right? So again, just making them aware that even though they're very young, they are capable of being aware that it's sometimes they're not in the correct condition for learning, and they need to calm down to be able to be effective learners. Even a kindergarten kid is capable of that level of self-awareness if you facilitate through questioning, right?
They have a lot of energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have a lot of energy.
Yes. Okay, so we have the 5 domains of self-regulated learning. Now I would like to move on to growth mindset. Okay, so this term growth mindset was coined by American psychologist Professor Carol Dweck in her 2006 book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Okay, and basically this growth mindset is based on the belief that your basic qualities are things that you can cultivate through your efforts. Although people may differ in every which way in their initial talents and aptitudes, interests, or temperaments, everyone can change and grow through application and experience. Okay, so the idea is that instead of just seeing yourself as fixed, and this is how I am, and there's no way I'm going to change, everybody is capable of growth. Okay, so here we have some examples of the different attitudes that somebody with a fixed or growth mindset. So on the left, you can see the growth mindset. Failure is an opportunity to grow. So that's definitely an important in language learning, that making mistakes is part of the process. Whereas a fixed mindset would say failure is the limit of my abilities. Okay, I can learn to do anything I want. I'm either good at it or I'm not. Okay, challenges help me to grow. I don't like to be challenged. I can either do it or I can't. My efforts and attitude determine my abilities. My potential is predetermined. Feedback is constructive, and when I'm frustrated, I give up. I am inspired by the success of others. Feedback and criticism are personal. I like to try new things. I stick to what I know. Okay, so it would be interesting to stick this up in your classrooms and have students kind of consider, do they have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset? Now, maybe at the moment they have a fixed mindset, and you want to encourage them to to adopt a growth mindset, okay? And you can use these quotes as a way of reminding them that certain approaches are positive and others are unhelpful. For example, when I'm frustrated, I give up. Well, is that a good way to live your life? No, of course not. When we're frustrated, we have to find ways of surmounting or overcoming that frustration. Would anybody like to comment on this like infographic? Do you think it would be useful to incorporate in your classrooms?
Well, when you have growth mindset, excuse me, good afternoon. You have growth mindset, you destroy all your limiting beliefs, just like Anthony Robbins wrote on Awakening the Inner Giant. Good afternoon.
Thank you for that contribution, teacher. Would anybody else like to share any observations on this?
Okay, I think to grow my mindset is taking seminars, like the seminars that we are taking right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this applies not only to our students, but it applies to us as professionals, that we have to always have a growth mindset and look for opportunities to broaden our knowledge and to learn new strategies and new approaches. Thank you, teacher. Anybody else?
Yes, I was, when I saw this on the spot, when we want to start a course or a subject at the university level, so they can see the differences, not to give up, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, one activity you could do, which would be a really cool activity, would be to actually take the quotes out, right? So you have one head that just says growth mindset and it's empty, and the other head says fixed mindset and it's empty. And then you give the students the different quotes, and they have to classify them into growth or fixed mindsets. And that would be a really interesting way of making them reflect about different attitudes and whether they're helpful or not. That might be a nice activity to try.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we also have this one. Okay, so growth mindset is freedom and fixed mindset is limiting. So growth mindset perseveres in the face of failures. Effort is required to build new skills, finds inspiration in others' success, accepts criticism, desires to learn, and builds abilities. Whereas the fixed mindset avoids challenges, ignores feedback, threatened by others' success, desires to look smart, gives up easily, and has fixed abilities. So again, you could do what I just suggested by taking the different phrases out and getting the students to consider which category they would fit into. I think that would be a very interesting activity to do. Okay, so I have a activity now that I would like us to do. So I have a document. Let me just find it. Not sure why. Found a article online called 10 strategies for fostering a growth mindset in the classroom. Okay, and what I would like to do is to share this with you. So I'm just going to quickly upload this This would be module 1, activity 3. Okay, so for those of you in the promoting self-regulated learning, it's now there. I'm just putting it into the diploma course now. It's called Module 1, Activity 3.
Where is it in task? I'm trying to looking for. I'm looking for. And
Yeah, it's
one.
it's in classwork.
Yes, I know that it's out the classwork.
So I've just uploaded it to the diploma. Right this minute.
Please send it
Let me share
email,
again.
to the email, please. The email.
Say that again.
Please send it to the email. I need connection on the classroom. Is it already in Google Classroom?
If you can send me your email in the chat, I'll happily send it to you.
I will send it immediately. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so can everybody see the document? Yeah. You can see it's called, in fact, the title, because there's an activity I skipped, so it says activity 4 is actually activity 3. It says read through the strategies and choose your top 3 and be prepared to justify your answers, okay? So what I want you to do now is I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, and in your breakout rooms, you're going to read and discuss these 10 strategies, okay? I'm going to give you about 15 minutes. So you have about 1.5 minutes to do each one, okay? How many people do we have? We have 51. I'm going to create, let's say, 15 rooms, okay? Now, if for any reason you are not able to join the breakout room because you're on a cell phone or you have some kind of technological challenge, yesterday we experienced this. So what I agreed with teacher Veronica is if you're not able to join the breakout room, what you should do is you should interact with the people who are left in the main room, okay? So let's say that there are 5 or 6 people who can't, for whatever reason, join a breakout room. Okay, no problem. You just interact from the main room and consider it like your own, like it's another type of breakout room, okay? The important thing is that you are interacting with your colleagues, sharing your observations and ideas. Okay, so just remember you have about 1.5 minutes for each one. So take it in turns to read them, briefly discuss them, and then at the end, you don't have to choose as a group, you just choose at an individual level, which are your 3 favorite. And if you have time left, explain to your partners why those 3 you think are particularly useful, okay? Okay, now, teacher Veronica, I noticed yesterday that it seemed as though there was a maximum time of 10 minutes on the breakout room. I wasn't specifying that, but it seemed to be doing that. So we may have that problem again today, but maybe in the meantime, if you could look at the settings, if it's possible to change that so that it's not always 10 minutes. But for now, I'm going to send the teachers to the breakout rooms, okay?
Okay.
Okay, guys, off you go. Teacher Osiris, she has 2 devices.
Yes, I'm already joining group number 1.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see you're in there now. Okay, so any teachers who are still not in their breakout room, could you turn on your cameras now and you can interact in this space? Teacher Maria Isabel del Cid. Teacher Esteban Romero. Teacher Amaryllis Salazar. And teacher Javier Villar. Teacher Julio. I think there's 5 of you that are not connected to breakout rooms, so if you could interact here. Okay, I'm not getting any response from those teachers, Teacher Veronica.
Okay, just give me a minute.
It seems as though the breakout rooms are working better today than yesterday.
Yes, yes, I think so too.
Yeah, no one's on their own.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lowe. I was in group number 13 and I was kicked out of the meeting.
Oh, okay, let me see what I can do. Professor Manuel. Okay, so I'm going to move you. I'm going to move you to room 14. Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Hello, Professor Maria, are you there? Can you turn on your mic, please? Okay. Professor Karen Amarili, are you there? Professor Esteban?
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, you should be interacting in this room because you are not in the breaking room. You should be interacting with Professor Amarilis, Professor Karen, and Professor Maria Isabel.
Teacher Esteban, you were assigned room 15. Did you see the link? You have to just click join. Okay.
Click in join.
Yeah, on your screen, can you see an invitation to join the breakout room?
Are you connected from your cell phone?
Yes, I'm connected.
Okay, on your screen, on your cell phone, on the left side, you should see 4 little dots, like a square. And it said sala, or it says rooms. Can you see that? On your left upper side, click on that. Did you do it? Did you click on the 4 dots or on the little words that say, okay.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, one down,
Professor
2 to go.
Marilis or Maria?
Teacher Maria Isabel del Cid, are you there? Can you hear us?
It seems they are not. Professor Karen, are you there?
Oh yeah, Teacher Karen, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. It seems they are not behind their screen. because
Okay,
they
so
are
we have
not
to
responding, and
we
they
have
are
to speak with them about that.
yeah. They are just
I'll
not
tell you,
responding.
I'm just sending you a screenshot so you have the evidence of people that didn't join.
Yeah. Osiri has 2 devices.
Yeah, Osiris she's in room 1. It's just the other device that,
Okay.
yeah. So I'll put a cross in the screenshot there so you remember that that one's not relevant.
Yeah.
Why don't we send them to the waiting room? Because we cannot count on the people that are not connected.
Okay, that's also an option. Would you like me to do that, Veronica?
To do what?
To basically remove them from the session and put them in the waiting room, so they would be excluded.
Somebody else is coming in. Julio. Yeah, okay. Yeah, when they realize that they are kicked out.
And then they have to contact somebody from the committee to say, you know, what's going on, you know, what happens. Because
Okay, so Mr. Alvarez is very firm with his discipline in the online. That's good. Yeah, well,
Julio
sometimes
just came in.
you have to be, as you say, you have to be cruel to be kind. Julio.
Yeah, he just signed in.
Hi, teacher Julio. He left.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Are you actually, I mean, I don't know if this is a problem anymore, but during the pandemic, I was working at a school and we had terrible problems with Zoom bombing, you know, like nasty people entering our classes and then
yes,
screaming bad words or sharing pornography on the screen and stuff
Thank
like
God
that.
I never experienced that.
Right.
Never.
So you do have to be careful, and some of the teachers are joining the session with generic names like Teacher 101 or stuff like, I mean.
Yeah, I realized, and I send you a private message, Veronica, that there is somebody that says usuario 2020 something, and I sent this person a private message. Please use your real name or whatever, but I don't know if the person is still here. I'm just checking. I think that, you know, I don't know. What I do is that I do not accept people without a complete name.
Yeah, we have a few teachers.
We can advise that today that anybody that doesn't sign up with their real name is not going to be accepted.
Yeah. So we have Inelda, for example, just Inelda. It's impossible to know who that is.
Yeah, and it happens last week in TESOL, in the Summer Institute. Somebody just joined the whole week, like Departamento de Idiomas. Who is that person?
Yeah.
And that person will never receive the certificate or whatever, because I don't know, that is not a name. What I do is that I do not admit people in the main room without a full name.
And Joel, do you know this
There is
problem I was
somebody with
describing?
Galaxy J6. How can we send that person a message? Because I don't know how to do that.
I send a private message, like, please change your name.
Yeah,
and
but
then
if they are in the waiting room.
We can send a message to the waiting room too.
Oh yeah, how do I? Oh yeah, I see it. Oh, Maris is coming in now.
So the breakout rooms have now finished. Teacher Joel, are you able to help me understand if it's possible to, if I want to have a breakout room that lasts longer than 10 minutes?
Of course, you can do that. You can make it open and you decide when you want to close it.
Okay, is that when I is that under options?
Yes. Once you do create breakout rooms, right?
Yeah.
Then what you are going to do is oh, wait a minute. Okay. Yes, you go under options, then you decide breakout room close automatically after whatever minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's by default, it's got the option of 10 minutes. If I take that check away, then there's no problem.
Or you can make open and then you send a message or a voice message to the whole room, like in 5 minutes, 3 minutes, you're going to be out. But then, yeah.
Thank you so much, teacher.
And if I want to send the same rooms, the same people in the same room, I just open all rooms again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then you go to options and you decide 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
So teachers, I had said 15 minutes because I realized that it would be a bit of a difficult thing to discuss 10 strategies in 10 minutes. Do you need 5 more minutes? Yes?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, you think you're okay? All right. Well, those of you that
was enough.
It was enough. Okay, so I'm going to ask some of the teachers who haven't participated so far if they would be kind enough to give us teacher Aileen Rodriguez. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, teacher. Would you mind sharing with us which of the 10 strategies you thought, just mention one that you thought would be particularly useful in your context?
Okay, it really caught my attention. It as smart, like it knows many things, but sometimes it could be like bad for the others who sometimes do not dare to participate because they don't know the answer. And if we always praise the same students, not their opinions, because sometimes they feel that their opinions doesn't matter, because we always like saying that the other is better.
So,
right?
So teacher, let's imagine that I mean, obviously praising is an important thing, right? As a teacher, we should offer praise to encourage our students, to make them feel that they're doing a good job and to help them feel more confident. But so what should we praise them for? If we're not praising them for their intelligence, what should we praise them for?
We praise them when they do a good job. We congratulate them for what they did.
Right.
We can lower their self-esteem. This is very, sometimes it's a very sensitive topic. So we have to know how we say things to the students. Yeah. You praise them when they do a good job. But when they make mistakes, we should also let them know, but using the appropriate way or words, why and what happened, what was the wrong thing, and tell them, listen, you did this, but I consider that this would be the best way. Yeah, always try to give them alternatives so they can see or they can contrast what they did, where they failed, and how they can improve.
Thank you, teacher. Yeah.
Well,
so, but
sorry, teacher, Professor.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we can praise that their answer was smart, not that they are smart.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or Or we
Yeah,
can
we could also pick up on specific aspects, not just that the answer was correct, but what aspects of their performance could we draw attention to in a language class?
The pronunciation, we can say like that was great. The pronunciation, the grammar structure was like correct.
Really good. So we can praise their accuracy. You used that grammar structure really well. We've been working with that all week and you used it in a perfect way. Well done. The pronunciation as well. We can praise them. Hey, you pronounced that word so clearly. That was really great. What else can we praise?
Like for their participation.
Okay, the fact that they participated, very good. That was a really nice participation. Yeah, what else?
They got a good score in the test.
Okay, yeah, they got a good, so they performed well in a test. And also the use of words, right? Vocabulary. You know, you used a really interesting word there. Well done. That word was really a really good example of using that word. So we have, in other words, try to praise specific aspects of performance rather than saying, oh, you're so smart, right? Where that gives the impression that the only reason that the student was successful was because they were smart. And that's not helpful to a growth mindset. In a growth mindset, we want to promote the idea that everyone is capable of improving, and there are lots of different aspects that we need to work on. Teacher Erica.
Sometimes we need to praise the effort that the student is putting into account, even though he didn't get the best grade of the group, but the effort that that student is increasing little by little.
Very nice. Thank you for reminding us of that as well. Okay, and teacher Cynthia Small, are you there? Hi, teacher Cynthia. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to come back to you in a moment. Teacher Omaris Gonzalez, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but I'm just getting into the meeting again because I didn't have any electricity and I just got back into the meeting.
Okay, so we're glad to have you back, and I'll ask you in a moment to participate then. Adriana Hernandez?
Yes.
Could you share with us, Adriana, which of the 10 growth mindset strategies you thought was most useful in your context?
In my context, the one that I select, it was to provide challenges, and I related to set goals as well.
Okay.
Because I work in regular English courses, and when I ask them what do you want to learn, they say a lot of things that they want to learn in only, let's say, a month, with 2 classes per week. So I try to make them think in the possibility that what they can do in that particular period of time to avoid feeling frustrated. Like they set some goals that for the process, we know that they are not the goals that they have to have in that specific amount of time, maybe. So that's the one that
They have to be achievable, right? They have to be realistic.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you very much for sharing. And teacher, one more teacher, let me just see, Manuel, Manuel, you were speaking earlier about students who were tired. How about Juventina de Gracia? Are you there, teacher?
Here,
hi, teacher. So
I am.
which of the 10 growth mindset strategies did you find most interesting?
Okay, let me look let me look at the list that I have here. Okay.
Yeah.
Karen and I discussed many of them. We discussed and then I think the one that we, oh my God, it doesn't open. Here I am. Okay. Okay, the one that says develop cooperative exercises. Okay. Yes. Okay. This is something that is very, very important. That way, I think that every student will feel that is necessary in the group, in the class. And maybe at the beginning, they will not work, but at the end or in the middle of, then they would see that it's very important, the participation of each one. So the cooperative is very important. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, teacher. Mariela, teacher Mariela, would you like to say something?
Yes, I want to ask you something related to develop cooperative exercises. Develop cooperative exercises is the same as a collaborative working that we made students collaborate in a group.
Yeah, I would say so. Basically, collaborate and cooperate to me are basically synonyms.
Okay, so just adding a few information about what Juventina says, I think that is very important in a classroom because students feel that they are part of the class, that they are working together, they are developing activity where, for example, when I have it, they doing oral presentations, for example, that they have to work together. They got an assignment, well, any topic and a specific topic, and they're going to be graded by working together, by a collaborative learning, a collaborative work, how they develop in group, how they organize themselves in group. Did they know how to work with other students? Because some of the students, they don't want to work in group. So the teacher, I want to do it by myself. You know, you had to work in a collaborative process. You need to work with your classmates because you are part of a society. So you need to interact with the rest of the class. Thank you.
Sometimes it's a good idea to assign each member of the group a different responsibility as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm sure other teachers have many other interesting examples to offer. Unfortunately, okay, teacher Cynthia, I was calling on you earlier. You'd like to say something?
Yes, my camera is not working. Oh gosh. Okay. Yes.
There
sorry
you are.
about. Yeah. Thank you, Professor. Yes. The thing is that what caught my attention is about the different challenges that our students confront, and especially with this pandemic era that came in. Many of them was like redundant not to use the computer, you know, this app and things like that. Although is a situation, is a technology or is a tool that students like. But in my case, for example, I teach ESP, English for Specific Purposes.
All right. What's the area that you teach?
The city of Panama in Albrook.
Sorry, I meant what area of specific English? Like
Special needs, because according to their career. Special needs, learning difficulties, early stimulation,
I see.
radiology students, you know, different career, but the last level of English. And
oh, wow.
ESP.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, technical English. So what I had to do is definitely change everything to motivate the student and give them challenges. And well, in some cases, it was easy for some of them and more difficult for those that don't have a PC. They use their cell phone. And it wasn't so easy, you know, to develop the different activities, but that was a challenge for them. And I appreciate and admire later because they were well motivated, because as a teacher, you don't tell them what was wrong, you don't do so, you don't say so. You just stimulate them to continue improving. And that's what they did. So that was a challenge. And also for the teacher, for the teacher also, because it wasn't easy at this stage of the game to use the technology. But, you know, technology is here and it's staying, not going nowhere else. So we have to cope with that.
Yeah.
So that is what I want to share with you all.
Thank you very much, Teacher Cynthia. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to now continue. Let me just work out where I am. Okay, so we've been talking about the growth mindset, and I'm not going to go through this now, but I'm going to share. It's probably almost impossible for you to see on your screen because the text is so small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with you on the Google Classroom, and this is another way of comparing and contrasting the growth and fixed mindsets with different characteristics. Okay, so there are two more terms. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly because you know, we're having lots of interesting discussion, but we also need to make sure we achieve our objectives. So reflective learning, and this is something which a guy called Dewey, or Dewey, depending how you pronounce it, and he kind of created, I think in the I think it was like in the 1930s or 40s. So this is something that's been around for a while. And reflection is a meaning-making process that moves a learner from one experience into the next with deeper understanding. It is the thread that makes continuity of learning possible and ensures the progress of the individual. Also said that reflection is a systematic, rigorous, disciplined way of thinking. Reflection needs to happen in community, interaction with others. Reflection requires attitudes that value the personal and intellectual growth of oneself and of others. So here are the 4 levels that have been identified of reflection. So we can start off by simply describing events. What happened? So in this class or in this week, what happened? Then we have descriptive reflection, where we have an account of reasons, justifications, and explanations. So maybe there we're thinking about why did I do something, or why did something happen? Then we have dialogic reflection, where the learner begins to stand back from the event and analyze their role. So rather than just explaining why, analyzing, you know, what was going on behind that. And then finally, in critical reflection, the learner shows awareness of a wider context and that events may be located in and influenced by multiple historical and socio-political contexts. Now, obviously, that level of reflection is probably something that is difficult to do with children, but with university students, maybe it is possible. Okay, so we're reflecting. And also there's an important thing about the reflective cycle. So you describe something, you mention how you feel about it, you evaluate it, you draw conclusions, and then you take an action. Okay, so this is something that maybe we can do with our learners on certain tasks. So imagine that your students were asked to give a presentation. They could describe their preparation. They could describe how they think they did on the day, how they felt, how successful they were, and then maybe make some conclusions about what about the experience, and then some action points for next time. Okay, so this is all about learning from your experience and becoming more successful. So this reflective cycle is something that we can definitely apply to language learning. And here are some benefits. So, for example, when we are reflecting, we can use reflection at the start of a topic, and it can be a useful way of understanding and activating students' prior knowledge, right? So a lot of you do that at the beginning of classes. The second one is organization. We can reflect on an experience, and it's an important stage in building deep and meaningful connections. Motivation. Reflecting can help students increase future motivations by asking them to reflect on an activity and think about how they would adapt a future attempt. How could they do it better next time? Mastery. Reflective activities can be used in helping students develop deeper understanding by reflecting on their experience to identify patterns, anomalies, and generalize to larger principles. We can also use reflection to be goal-directed. As part of the practice feedback cycle, it's important that students have the opportunity to reflect on feedback and plan how they will use it in the future. Social and emotional. Reflection activities can be useful in helping students analyze their assumptions and biases as they develop their social identity. And finally, self-direction. Reflection is a critical part of a student's path to becoming self-directed learners, but don't assume that they have the metacognitive skills to do this by themselves. So obviously, we want them to become self-directed. We want them to become self-regulating, but we have to, it's a very slow process. We're maybe 10 or 12 years of education. We model these reflection activities, and we help students to become more aware of those. So I'm going to share again these slides with you on the Google Classroom. And very quickly, independent learning. Okay, now independent learning is probably the most, let's say, extreme version of self-regulated learning, where basically the student is completely autonomous. And this is this information I have taken from a British university website, and here they say university graduates are expected to be independent learners. So, you know, if we consider ourselves as part of a chain, right? So kindergarten through to 12th grade, our job is to create students who are capable of being independent learners when they get to university. So they're capable of, you know, managing their own objectives, evaluating, reflecting, avoiding distraction, being resilient, being resourceful, being collaborative. All of those things are things that we need to see by the time they get to university. Now, sadly, at the moment, there are many students arriving at university and they don't have any of those skills, right? So they find it almost impossible. And what I think our job is to build a new generation who will be capable of being successful university students, right? So, you know, it's a long process. These strategies need to be modeled time and time again, right from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Okay, guys, so that's the end basically of the theoretical framework. So we've talked about learning power, we've talked about metacognition, we've talked about self-regulated learning, we've talked about growth mindset, we've talked about reflective learning and independent learning. And there's a huge overlap between those concepts, okay? So I hope that so far you have had your kind of eyes open to these different frameworks, but a lot of them are overlapping. So many people refer to self-regulated learning and metacognition as the same thing. Other people say, no, metacognition is more based on thinking, and self-regulated learning is a combination of thinking, emotions, and behaviors. Okay, reflective learning, well, reflection is part of metacognition and it's part of self-regulated learning. So all of these concepts are intertwined and interwoven. All right, guys? So right now, I think it would be a good time for us to have a break. And in the second half, we will be looking at some practical activities and things that you can do in your classroom to actually promote these ideas that we've been discussing. I mean, we've been discussing activities as well in the first part, but now it's going to be very, very much practical. So thank you very much for your participation so far. If I could just remind you that in the chat, there is a link for you to sign your attendance, okay? And I'm going to just copy that now, and I'm going to post it into the classroom as well in case anybody has difficulty with the chat. So it is now 3:17. If we could be back here, Teacher Veronica, would 3:30 be okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, does that sound okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So if everybody could turn off their microphones and their video, and we'll see you back here at 3:30. Okay, bye for now.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
We are in break time.
Okie dokie, thank you. Thank you. Here at the university right now.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm back. This is Teacher Daniel. How you doing?
We're doing good, teacher.
Good.
Yeah.
Did everybody have their...
Hi, I'm back.
Hi, welcome back.
Hi, welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
I'm sorry. Somebody, I think Teacher Osiris, you have you're
Hello.
echoing. Yeah, I think you have your other device maybe causing the echo. Are you connected with two now or just one?
With two, Professor, but the other one is off. And
Ah,
I was
okay.
out of the house, so it wasn't me.
Okay, sorry, I was accusing you and it wasn't you.
That's okay.
All right. Okay, guys, so I hope you had a nice little snack or drink. I have my cup of English tea here. And we're ready to enjoy the second half of this session. So now we're going to be looking at more practical approaches. So just go back. So in module 2, we're going to be looking at questioning and modeling. We're not actually going to look at cooperative teaching because I had to cut one thing because we're a little bit behind schedule, but don't worry, I can give you some links to read about that. Lesson wrappers, word banks, and displays. So questioning and modeling. Teacher questioning is the single most important means of fostering metacognitive thinking in students. So I have shared on the Google Classroom. I have shared some quite nice metacognitive materials that you might like to try and incorporate some of these questions into your classes. Okay, so this one is called Are You Stuck? And it says, before you ask the teacher for help, ask yourself the following metacognitive questions. How can I think about this task differently? What is the main obstacle to me completing this task? What style of thinking is best for this type of problem? What steps need to be taken? What could I change? Have I explored all the possible strategies? Which of my strengths as a learner can I call on here? And many, many more, which I'm not going to read out right now, but you can go through. Also for early finishers, right? We all have those students who tend to finish early, and we have the following metacognitive questions to enhance your work. How can I add more depth to my work? What would I do differently next time? How can I make How can I make sure I remember what I learned? How can I improve the work I produced? How can I add more analysis? What are the practical applications? How can I connect this learning? So again, you have all of these questions. I'm not saying you should give them all at the same time to the learners. And obviously, some of these questions are too sophisticated, for example, for primary. But you could think of metacognitive questions. So let's imagine that you're in a primary context and you have an early finisher who completed an activity. What kind of questions could you ask them that might make them analyze what they did or expand or enrich what they did? Any ideas? Let's imagine that they wrote 10 sentences in the past tense, right? What could you get them to look at? Any ideas?
Okay, I would ask him, is there something in common among these 10 questions?
Okay, nice. Okay, very good. And how could they reflect on their own work? What could they look at to judge the success or otherwise of their work?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, so you asked them to see, what was in common with the words, but could there be a kind of checklist of things that you could ask them to do to extend the work or to do the work like better or add more to it or think about how they could make it better?
It all depends on the objectives I want them to reach.
Sure.
Yeah, if it is kind of a close objective, I would have a checklist to reach those objectives.
Mm-hmm.
If I just want them to think of or to brainstorming, I don't use checklist, just to let them speak their minds.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on the objectives.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, and we also have this. If you look, I'm not sure if you've been able to look at the resources I uploaded, but there's one called "Are You Stuck?" which has the cycle of plan, monitor, evaluate, and regulate. So let me just show you that one. So, giving students, let me just make it a little bit smaller, so maybe it fits. Okay, that's bigger. Okay, I'm just going to have to leave it like that. But you can see that this is like the cycle and helping them to remember the different stages, planning, monitoring, evaluating, and regulating. It could be a useful thing to help them carry out a task, or at least to have on the wall to refer to. You could refer to them so that they can remember those different steps of the process. And then I also uploaded a document. Let me just quickly share that on my screen. If you look at it's called Extension Tasks. And this is the one that I would like you to think about now. So if you can have a look at this, it's on the Google Classroom. Metacognition extension tasks. So if you finish an activity before others, complete one of the following tasks in the back of your exercise book. Now, okay, the author of this activity is saying that they should do it, after they finish, but maybe you could have all of your students do these activities as like different activities, right? So here we have, how many do we have? We have 25. So it would be interesting if you could just go through those quickly and discuss in your groups which ones you think could be applicable in your context, okay? So if you could again go through the different tasks that the author of that sheet has designed and discuss which would be usable or if positive in your context. All right, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, so just go skim through them, and each of you take it in turns to talk about ones that seem of interest to you, okay? Okay, I'm going to have 10 minutes for this, guys. Does everybody have the resource available now?
Yes, yes, I have seen.
Yep, if you go to the Google Classroom, it's there in the last posting, okay? All right, guys. Ready? Okay, so we have a few teachers here who are not joining the breakout rooms. Are you teachers? Can you hear me? Teacher Veronica, we have somebody who has entered using Galaxy J6. That definitely needs to be updated. I'm gonna, what happened? They just disappeared when I mentioned them.
I wrote to them and asked them to put the correct name, and it seems that I'm not sure if they received my message or not. But okay. I sent a private message.
Okay, I'm sending one to teacher Karen as well.
Oh, and we have a lot of people here in the main room.
Yeah. Teacher Indira Jimenez.
Professor Sergio, Professor Yolanda, Gidis, Indira, Karen, Maria Isabel, Julio, Amarilis.
Amarilis is here. Hello.
Yeah, but you should be in a breaking room. Professor Daniel just sent the link for you to join a room.
Did you get that message on your screen?
No.
Okay, let me try.
I'm sorry. Remember that I am using two devices for that reason. You will find two Karens. Okay.
Okay.
So I just want you to know about it.
Okay.
So I couldn't listen to the instructions, so because I have to go running with my baby. So What was the instruction? And I'm really sorry because of that. What was
Yes,
the
I would like to
I'm
know.
gonna place you in Amaryllis.
No, I'm right now in a group in my other device,
Okay.
my
So the
laptop. I
idea
am
was
in a group.
to look at the extension tasks and discuss which ones would be most applicable in your context.
So
Okay,
did
we
you
have to do,
upload a new material
ay,
in the
Dios mío.
platform?
Estoy anotando
Yeah,
el
it's on the
grupo
Google
como es.
Classroom.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
what do we have to do? We have to discuss.
Go through them and discuss which ones could be useful in your context.
Yes, useful concept. Okay, but what about the
Useful
other
in
member
your
of the group,
context.
Veronique? Veronique.
Yes, Mama Didis.
Do
Tell
you
me.
belong to our group to work and University Faculty of Humanity? Who belong this? Who is Faculty of Humanities?
That's educación continua.
Okay.
They're just here. They're not participating.
Yes, and what else? Where are the other members of this group? I would like to know.
They are in their classroom. They are in the small groups.
No, I think what she means is the people who are in this main sala, like, where are they?
Oh, Julio, Yolanda, María Isabel. Julio? Okay, Julio is gone. Professor María Isabel?
Okay, I'm going to put in the waiting room.
María Isabel.
Professor Yolanda?
Yolanda.
Hello, Professor Yolanda. You are muted.
Yes, she is mute.
She's not there.
She's gone. So you're by yourself, Amarilit.
Okay, just work on it yourself and be prepared to give some feedback later, okay?
Okay.
So we still have somebody in the waiting room with Galaxy J6. I don't know, can we send a message to the waiting room? Yes. Please change your name. Please edit your Zoom name so we can verify your identity. Teacher Yolanda? Teacher Yolanda has just entered from the waiting room again, but doesn't. Okay. Welcome back. Hello, Teacher Nelda. Is it possible, please, for you to edit the name on the Zoom? If you click on the 3 dots at the top right of your picture, and you go to the bottom where it says rename, and if you could add your complete name there, that would be very helpful. So welcome back, everybody. Great to have you back. I hope you found some of those activities interesting. Teacher Raphael, how about you? Which of the extension tasks did you think you might like to use with your students?
Now that we're talking about this topic, and now I just remember that La Salle, they apply this type of activities at the end of the test. They ask the questions regarding whether in a specific session, how did you find it? It was difficult, it was challenging, things like that, and they need to answer, and that is also give you an extra point, something like that. So I didn't know that they were using this type of questions, but in my case, I would select from the list that you just gave us. It says number 2, create a mind map outlining your strengths and weakness in this subject. Well, in my case, I would use it in a test, an evaluation. What section you think it was difficult for you, on which one it was the easiest, and why. So both of them, they need to tell me and support their answers. That would be how I apply it in my test or any type of
yeah. Yeah, we're going to be looking at that another thing called exam wrappers or cognitive wrappers, which is a similar concept where you get students to reflect on how well they did in a test. Okay, so thank you very much. Teacher Hilda, we haven't heard from you today. Which of the activities did you find most interesting? You're muted, Teacher Hilda.
Okay, sorry. I agree with Rafael. When Rafael say that number 2, create a mind map outlining your strengths and weaknesses in this subject. I like that one because when the students say, example, I don't know to pronounce that word in English. I don't like grammar. I don't like the verb to be. So when you have this activity, you can know the student, what they like and what they dislike. I like that.
Or what they find difficult and what they find easy. So that can also be useful information for the teacher, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Teacher Teresa Murgas, which activity did you find most interesting?
Well, to be honest, my partner and I got confused about the file that we should open because we opened another one. Let me.
The one that we were looking at starts with the number 4.
Finished early. And we were talking about the question number 3. How can I make sure I remember what I learned? So in this case, we were talking that if we want to be sure what the students comprehend about the lesson or about the topic, maybe we can use, for example, based on the topic or the subject, if it is grammar, we can give them some sentences with grammar mistakes in order that they could check the mistakes and explain why they consider this is a mistake in a sentence. And if it is a reading comprehension, maybe we can get a paragraph from the story and maybe with wrong information about the story. And obviously, if they really pay attention on it, they are going to know which information is wrong or not.
Thank you. Very interesting. Teacher Omaris, you have your hand up.
Yes, I work with Teresa, and we also had the last one that say, how can I connect this learning to other subjects? Whenever we teach English, we teach like sports. We talk about science. So we connect the language to other subjects that they are maybe they're learning in Spanish. So when we talk about this subject in English, they say, oh, I know that because I heard it in Spanish in the science class that is in Spanish. So I will do that one. How can I connect this learning to other subjects?
Which institution do you work at, teacher?
I work at a public school, high school.
It sounds like, but was that part of the Panama Bilingüe program?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
But it sounds good that there's this cross, what's the word, like transversal connections being made. That's great.
Yeah, I do that in my classroom. I use it in my classroom.
Congratulations. Teacher Katia, you would like to make a contribution?
Yes, it was very interesting to read all 25, and it was. I was thinking that it would be also a good idea to review, for example, for students to know how to make a mind map or the bullet points. You know, like a review before asking them to do this at one of the tasks, because they are, for some of my students, they are not used like to use all of this. And I think it would be a very good idea, like to start reviewing with them what it is. And then, because in that way, when, for example, the poem, we were saying like, listen, for my students, they don't have any idea. But if you are teaching literature or something related to it, it would be nice to do something like related to the content. Also, trying to, you have to put it in the context and the context that you have. If you're teaching adults or teaching children, adapt that. But review like the way you are going to do that. Otherwise, a paragraph, okay, would be a good idea to review how to write a paragraph. So when they are going to really write a paragraph about that, they know what they have to do. So,
yeah, I mean, exactly. All of these activities require scaffolding.
Yes.
So, you know, to begin with, maybe we have to model the activity, and we actually maybe could do a class where we do mind maps, or, you know, we make a list, or we design a homework task together. So we actually model it with the students, because, yeah, you're absolutely right. They need to have an example to follow, and then as it becomes more, they become more used to it, and they have done it a few times, then they can do it independently without that support, right?
Yes. I think it would, because the task is not an easy one, because they really have to reflect. And
that's right.
It's challenging for them to reflect, because with the use of the cell phones, they are many times they just got distracted. And distraction doesn't let you reflect.
Exactly.
So if they really know first what they have to do, then when they need to reflect, it's not like an extra work.
Exactly. Yes, teacher Tanya.
Yes, good evening, guys, once again. I have a question. Should we prepare ahead of a time for these type of extension activities? For example, taking to the classes templates, sentence beginners, and stuff like that, to have a student just follow the instructions. Because you are right when you say that there are students that they work so fast, thereafter you don't know what to do with those students, then we can have them do an extension activity. But should we prepare for that?
Yes, I think we should. I think we we should have maybe a little folder where we could have, because I mean, usually the students that finish quickly are the stronger students, right? So I mean, yes, they may need to have some modeling, but yeah, sentence starter sheets, and they can be applied to almost any activity. Which part of the activity did I find most difficult? Which did I find easiest? Which did I enjoy most? Which did I enjoy least? How would I do it differently next time? I mean, that kind of extension task is, you know, applicable to so many activities, right? I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to be giving them the same thing time after time. And another extension activity doesn't have to be metacognitive. It could be focused on the task itself. So it could be, okay, you've done the activity. Now I'd like you to underline all of the adjectives in the text or something like that, you know? So you keep them busy with another kind of additional task related to the text or the activity that you had them doing. But yeah, I definitely think that having a range of extension activities already prepared is a great thing to do. Obviously, at the beginning, it does require a bit of extra work, but once you have them done, then you have them, like, you have a whole set of resources that you can use. Does that answer your question?
Yes, because I was reading the all 25 that you have listed, and I was thinking on my contest. I said, wow, third grade, what can I ask them to do? I would have to really prepare ahead of a time to have them do it. That's the reason of my question. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, this is just one aspect. We're going to be looking at other ideas. So me just go back to my presentation just for one moment, and I'd like to show you so here are some modern foreign language metacognitive questions. So planning, why do we do activities like this? So actually getting the students to figure out the objective themselves. What do we need to remember when completing this type of task? Getting them to think about the different strategies and approaches. What can we use to help us with this activity? Is there anything that we need to watch out for? What strategies did we use last time we did this? Okay, so all of those are questions you could give them before they start the activity. Then the monitoring phase, how difficult are you finding this task? What strategies can we use to unstick ourselves? In what other situations might we use this strategy? What can we do to keep ourselves focused and be resilient? And what could we use to check what we have done so far? And then evaluating, that would be after the activity. What can we do to ensure we remember what we've just learned? What were the most difficult parts of that task? What different strategies did we use today? And how successful were we in being resilient? And did we ask for help at the right times? Okay. So, yeah, there are all kinds of questions that we can ask students to make them, force them to reflect and be more metacognitive. Okay, now I'd like to show you a video of a teacher who's kind of modeling different strategies about reading. Now, obviously, she's doing this in a native speaker scenario. So I am aware that some of these, it depends on the context that you teach in. But, you know, if your students are lower language profile, you could even do this in Spanish, or you could just simplify the language and the strategies that you're going to be using. Okay, let me share this video with you.
Students discuss strategies they employ when they encounter unknown words in their reading. These include referring to word walls and comprehension keys posted in the classroom, chunking parts of words, predicting from context, and asking others for help. The teacher emphasizes that these metacognitive strategies help students to gain independence in reading and to set their own next steps as readers.
Okay, we are going to read a little piece today that's going to help us practice one of the strategies we used for reading. Yeah. What do you think about what strategies you use for reading? What do we call it when we're thinking about how we learn? What's that great big word we love so much? So Natalie, what's it called?
Metacognition.
Metacognition. What does that mean? We can even spell it, can't we, guys? Max?
Thinking about your thinking.
Thinking about your thinking, thinking about your learning. Sometimes when we're reading, we run into difficulties, so we need some help to figure things out.
The students are constantly involved in self-evaluation, trying to get them to identify what the next steps in their reading should be. I find that very, very effective for the kids because once they know why they're doing something, then they're much more willing to be part of whatever activity that we come up with. But letting them know the purpose is important, and then they can set their next steps.
What kind of strategies can we use when we need some help figuring things out? Cole, what do you use?
If you can, I use the word wall and I use around the word.
Okay. You use the word wall and?
I look around the room for the word.
How do you know where those words are, Cole?
Sometimes on the word wall, sometimes they're all over there. Or the people help me to add the ending.
Good for you. That's well explained. What other strategies do we use when we come to a word we don't know, Natalie?
Well, usually, if I'm stuck on something, I just look up there, and then I check which ones I can like.
Okay, so you use the keys to help you out. Julia?
I break it into chunks when I'm stuck on a word.
I remember the day we started breaking words into chunks and we saw how we could spell so well. And that big word that we spelled was metacognition. We couldn't believe we knew how to spell it. What strategies do you like, Evan?
Well, sometimes when I'm reading a book and I can't figure it out no matter what, I just don't care if I don't know one word, I just keep reading.
Okay, so you try to get the information you need from what?
I guess what the word is, and then I would use that word later on. And then
Okay.
sometimes if I know it's not right there, I would ask someone else for help.
Okay, so asking for help's a great one. Cassie?
Well, sometimes in books, there's a word, I know how to read it, but I don't know what it means.
Excellent. How many people have that problem? I have that problem all the time. Garrett, you told me about having kind of a problem like that last week, but it was all around what?
A name?
Names, people's names. You could kind of sound them out, but you hadn't heard it and you didn't know how to pronounce it. So the vocabulary in our books become important then. So what can we do if we don't understand what a word means? What can we do? Cole?
Sign in the trucks or ask somebody for help to start it out with you.
Okay, but they can already read it. You can read a word, but you don't know what it means. What can, Cole?
You just skip it, then you might find what it means and come out what it means and when you read on.
Okay, so as you read on, it might become clear. I like the way you answered that. Garrett, what were you going to say?
Look in a dictionary.
You could look in a dictionary. What word were we looking for in the dictionary the other day?
What was it? Optimistic.
Optimistic. And what was the problem when we were trying to write optimistic?
That we didn't know how to spell it.
Well, Mrs. Dortmund didn't know how to spell it either because it
could have
didn't
been
look
the
right.
I or a Y.
Right. So we did some of that work. So you guys have a really good array of strategies that you're using when you hit unknown words.
Hi guys, so what did you think to the class that we observed?
Okay, well, teacher questioning is the most outstanding way of promoting metacognition. Excellent, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, basically she did two things, didn't she? No, she did three things. She asked questions, and what were the other two things that she did in that, in terms of what she said?
Previous experience.
Okay, good. So she elicited from the students about their previous experience, but she did that by asking questions, right? So that was still, she was still asking questions. So she was asking questions, she was praising, right? She said, I liked the way you answered that question. She didn't say, you're so intelligent. She said, I liked the way you answered that question. And the other thing she did was she reformulated. So when a student was trying to say something, but maybe they couldn't really express it as clearly as they would want, then the teacher helped them by reformulating, right? So I think that we saw in this little short video some very nice examples about how the teacher can promote metacognitive reflection and strategies by asking questions to students. Now, probably most of, we're seeing a discussion in the classroom, but there's a lot of work that went into this before the class, right? She would have modeled these strategies. They would have talked about them. So, it's not just like magically the kids knew those strategies. She would have modeled them before. And so teacher modeling is as important as questioning, okay? So how do we model a strategy? Well, maybe we can speak out loud. So, okay, there's a word I don't know here. So what am I gonna do? And you kind of give them an example of how you might solve that problem using the particular strategy that you're modeling. So you give them an example of you as a teacher, how you would do it, and then get them to replicate that. Okay, so questioning and modeling are super important aspects of teaching metacognition and self-regulated learning. Okay, so now we've looked at this video, and now I would like to talk about cognitive wrappers. Now, this is something that came up by, it was invented by a lady called Marsha Lovett and her colleagues at Carnegie Mellon University. And she's credited with creating the exam wrapper technique. Okay, now this is basically something that teacher Raphael was referring to about getting students to reflect on how well or how badly they did in a test, right? So I'm going to upload some exam wrappers right now to the Google Classroom. So just going to do material, upload. Now, these particular exam wrappers that I'm going to be sharing are for biology and chemistry for a university level. Okay, now obviously we're teaching languages, but I think that we can make this, we can use this strategy in our own context. So I think it's always interesting when we can take ideas from other fields, right? So I would like you please to have a look at these exam wrappers and discuss them in your breakout rooms. And we're going to come back together, exam wrappers. And I'd like you to, first of all, be able to kind of describe what they are, but more importantly, think about how we could apply them in your context. Okay. So can everybody see them on the Google Classroom? They're called exam wrappers.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. So if you could open those and basically work out what they are, how they work, you can see one that is empty and one that has been filled out by a student. And so try and work out what the objective of this document is, and then think about how you could create one for your English class and what kind of things would you ask them to reflect on. Now, maybe you would get them to do a wrapper, not about an exam, but rather about a presentation or any kind of activity that you gave them. So it doesn't have to be an exam. It could be getting them to reflect on any performance or task that you gave them to do. Okay, I'm going to give you about 15 minutes for this activity. And so I'll see you back here at about 4:32. I'm going to put different rooms this time. Okay. And I look forward to hearing your ideas when you come back. Teacher Veronica.
Yes.
Yeah, so we still have this problem with this person, Galaxy J6. I've
Yeah,
asked.
I think we need to just put them in the waiting room because
Yeah, that's what I did.
I wrote to the person twice. I think you wrote to her too also.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not responding.
No. Okay. Shall we just remove them entirely from the waiting room?
Yeah, because
I mean, they haven't responded to our request, so.
No.
Okay. I'm removing them. And so we have teacher Julio not responding. Teacher Julio, can you respond to me, please? Okay, I'm going to put you in the waiting room for the moment. Teacher Sergio, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, are you working on the task, teacher? Sorry?
Yes, please
Okay, so
repeat. I heard task.
yeah, did you open the documents that you were supposed to be looking at?
Go ahead.
Okay, do you understand what you're supposed to be doing?
Okay, please repeat it again one more time orally, please.
Okay, so on the Google Classroom, there are two documents called exam wrappers, and the idea is to study those and work out what their objective is, and then think about how you could create one for a language class.
Okay.
So you're not able to join a breakout room, right?
Right now, yes. Right now, I'm here with you in the break room. Or no. There are 8 participants. And this one, you just join me in the break room, or you're going to join me right now?
So you were invited to room
Fatima.
10.
5,
Let me move you to room 6. Okay, if you can accept that.
Yes.
Can you see yep, can you say join? You should get a message saying that, asking if you want to join the breakout room. Okay, good. Teacher Zuleika Martinez?
Yes, because I was in a group, but now something happened and I was out.
Okay, I'm going to put you in room 3 now.
Thank you.
Aidikel Santa Maria? Sorry, Santi Mateo?
She is part of the faculty.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. So I think we're okay now because that Osiris is the second device that she's connected with, so we're good. Everybody is now in their breakout rooms. Thank you. Teacher Veronica?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, teacher. I just wanted to mention that I'm just checking the Google Classroom. For example, in the diploma course, only 6 people have actually posted the assignment from yesterday. And in the, sorry, that's the diploma course. In the other course, 12 out of 20. So,
wow.
Let me see. Hold on. How does that work? So you go to Module 1 asynchronous assignment. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So there they have 25 yes, 12 no.
Okay.
So, I mean, how do you want to handle this? There are some people in, like, for example, I'm seeing some names that I haven't even seen, like Carlos Rios Montenegro. I haven't seen that name in the session. Alejandro
Today,
Bernal.
but he was here yesterday and he participated also.
Oh, okay.
Carlos
All right.
Rio Montenegro.
So, I mean, it's probably not appropriate to mention names in front of everybody, but we need to, I mean, how do you want to handle that? Do you want me to just?
Yeah, you can refer to, like, you already checked the classroom assignment, and there are still about 12 or 13 people that have not uploaded their assignment.
Yeah, I think it's about
Today I had
18.
to share with about 4 people that they were not connected to classroom. So I shared with them the link. So hopefully they will join, and they also have to comply with the assignment.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so you can mention it, and I will reinforce that at the end of the session today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
can you hear me?
yeah, you're back.
I'm back. Thanks God.
You still have a problem with your camera, Teacher Marisol?
I don't know. Let me see. It's off. I think it should be working.
Yeah, we can see you now.
Yeah, because there was like this weird, like, flashing techno kind of thing going on earlier, but it's, yeah, you look.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there you go. There. Come back.
No. See, I'm going to switch it off.
Okay, I'm going to bring the participants back now. I like your virtual background, Teacher Erica.
Yeah, that's a nice background.
Have you ever had the opportunity to travel there?
No, actually, that's why I used
One day, right?
Yeah, I used to have the one that has a beach and some palm trees, but then I thought that was not really recommended for the seminar.
People think that you're in, Bocas on the beach or something
Yeah, having fun there,
with a pina colada. Okay, welcome back, teachers. We'll just wait for the rest of our colleagues to come back. Okay, so teacher Sharon, how about you? What did you discover about the exam wrappers? How would you describe what they're for?
Hi. Well,
Hi there.
just we're reading the two samples of the test, and it could be useful at the beginning before before sharing this reflection. The reflection could be for also for the students.
Why do you think this this person invented this concept? What was her objective?
The objective to have the reflection about the test, but
why? Why though?
Okay, well, I was thinking again in striving for accuracy. That is a process, and then we need to see the way in which we can improve ourselves, not only the teachers but also the students.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, teacher Sharon. I don't know about you, but for me, it's so frustrating when, you have gone to the trouble of creating an exam. The students have done it. You graded it. And then how many times in your professional career have you given exams and the student just looks at the grade and, okay, that's it. Like there's nothing more, that the process is over. And it's like, wow, what a waste of, an opportunity. Teacher Tanya, I can see you nodding. You've had that experience?
Yes, I'm laughing because me and my team, my group, we were talking about how would they start the exam? How can we exactly say, okay, not knowing how to begin the problem. Most students, that's where they get to the test. They don't know how to start the test. They don't know how to continue. So this type of wrapper, what we call you call wrapper, is like a self-evaluation of what will you do for the following test based on what happened with the previous test. And the student can use it as well to grade what they did, how they failed, why they failed, or what they did that they, have succeed doing the test. It can use that in two ways.
Yeah, and it makes them analytical as well about what aspects of their performance are problematic and what aspects are good. I mean, some of their performance was probably good. Do you think that this exam wrapper? I mean, it's called an exam wrapper, but some people use them for other things, not just for exams. That, like I mentioned before, they use them for presentations or any kind of assessed activity. And the idea is to engage the student with their performance and get them to think about what was good, what was bad, and what could be done differently. So can anybody think, could this be used for like other evaluated tasks that are not exams in English class? Yes, teacher Erica.
For group work.
Okay.
For a project.
Yeah.
A process project.
Right.
How are you doing during the process of a project?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of those two.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting. Sorry, did somebody want to say something?
Can we do like a survey and a research project? Well, I think that Erica said that already.
Yeah, I thought
closed questions.
Right. Thought it was interesting that in the biology one, the teacher asked the student to give percentages to like how much effort or how much time they gave to reviewing that particular part. So let's imagine in a test, you might have grammar, reading, vocabulary, like asking them, like, did you actually, you know, prepare for this test? Or if it was a presentation, you know, ask them questions about their preparation as well, to reflect not only on the performance, but on the different stages. So, for example, if it was a project that involved group members, how well did you work together? How much did you do? Do you think that you contributed equally, or that, you know, you gave more or less than other members of the team? Teacher Erica, you wanted to add something?
Actually, I would like to ask, because I have seen, for example, or I have attended some seminars, that it is recommended, for example, at the end of a content that you as a professor have prepared, and we use scaffolding, you know, at the end, you should give students to self-evaluate, for example, the goals. For example, I can give instruction, I can make a complete sentence, I can, would that be kind of a wrapper too?
Yeah, it is a kind of wrapper,
for
exactly.
For your goals,
What?
not for a test or an...
Just in case you're wondering, why is it called a wrapper? The reason it's called a wrapper is because often we refer to wrap up, right? To wrap up, not to wrap up a present or a gift, but rather to wrap up a class or to wrap up a meeting means to bring it to an end, right? So when you have an exam wrapper or a lesson, some people have lesson wrappers. So they have the same idea where the student is being asked to like reflect on their performance or their learning in a particular lesson. So yes, it doesn't have to be a test. It could be a learning experience as well. So it could be a project, it could be a speaking task, or it could be a lesson. They have lesson wrappers, okay? Very good. Okay, we only have about just a little bit less than 20 minutes. So I'm just going to continue now with the other two aspects that I wanted to show you. And the next strategy or activity that I would like to share with you is using word banks. Now, you know, we often give sentence starters, right? And then we expect the teacher to be able, sorry, the student to complete the sentence with their own words. But when it comes to metacognitive reflection, there's probably a lot of words that maybe are a bit tough for them to understand. So we can actually give them the sentence starter, but also give them the possible words that they can choose. Obviously, this is scaffolding, right? This is at the first stage. And after you've done this a number of times, you might hope that the students will start to be able to you know, come up with these words unprompted. I'm taking this activity from Metacognition in the Primary Classroom. This is a very nice book, which I highly recommend. It has a lot of nice activities. It is a little bit more expensive than the other ones that I've been recommending. This one is about $40 if you get the Kindle or the regular book on Amazon. But it is a very good book. I highly recommend it. So what I would like you to do now is to go to the Google Classroom and again, open the resource that I created, that I uploaded. I didn't create it. I took some screenshots from the book that I just mentioned. And this is like the author basically giving an example of how you can use word banks to facilitate metacognitive discourse for your students. Okay, so on this occasion, I'd just like you to read in silence. Okay, I'm not going to send you to breakout rooms. Sometimes I think that it's nice just to have some individual time as well. So on this occasion, please just read through the activity. I'm going to give you about 8 minutes to do that, okay? And then I'll turn off my camera for now so that you, and then when I turn my camera back on, I'll be asking you to give your reaction and ideas. Okay, I hope you enjoy. Everybody has the reading?
No.
Okay, if you go to the Google Classroom, it's called oh, sorry. That's strange. It's called word banks to facilitate metacognitive, using word banks to facilitate metacognitive discourse. Can you see it now, teacher Erica?
Yeah, now it is available.
Okay.
Erika, is metacognitive. Could you tell me the name?
Word bank.
It's called using word banks to facilitate metacognitive discourse.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see it.
Are you in the Google Classroom?
It just arrived. Thank you.
Okay. All right, you're welcome.
What's that? Whoa.
Okay, teachers, if you could come back now, please. I hope you had time to more or less absorb the text. Okay, so teacher Erica, would you like to share some first impressions about the activity?
Well, as you mentioned, the document present the started of the what the students will be talking, right? Because some students don't want to participate or don't want to give their thoughts because they don't know how to do it, as this is a second language. So this word bank gives the opportunity to students to give their thought about their own thinking. And I see that at the beginning, you can give modeling, like choosing one and making it yourself first, and then you can give the chance so they feel comfortable when they're gonna use it.
Yeah.
And it is set for all the stages, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of the metacognition that you're gonna develop at the beginning, in the middle, at the end. What did they do? To reflect on what they did in the different tasks.
Yeah, exactly. Because as you said, they may not even be able to do this effectively in their own language, let alone in a second language. So they definitely need a lot of scaffolding. I mean, even as an adult learner, I think many adult learners would find this useful because it gives you options that you might not think of otherwise, right? So I think using word banks and sentence starters is a very effective strategy to develop metacognitive abilities, because, you know, students usually can't come up with these ideas themselves. They need some structure and some support, right? Would anybody else like to share any ideas? Okay, we are running out of time. So, I mean, I would love to talk about the word. Sorry, Teacher Karen, would you like to say something?
No, I just want to say that it's an interesting, a great idea, because that way our students can take and learn in a fast way, and can use this vocabulary by themselves, and also can practice with their partners or with the teacher, and can improve themselves. That is what we want, and can understand us better.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this particular activity was designed for, I believe, like, you know, 6th graders or something. But obviously, if the level of language is lower in your institution, or if you're working with younger learners, you simplify the activity, right? So great. I hope you found that interesting. And there's just one more strategy that I need to show you before we wrap up today, okay? And that is using displays. So basically, like we said, you know, students need help with acquiring the vocabulary for metacognitive reflection. So many teachers like to make murals or posters which they stick up on the walls in the classroom. Here are some examples that I found, okay, with the different words: estimating, testing, thinking, suggesting, exploring, choosing, trying. Okay, here's another one where different students' pictures and think back, think ahead, test, way up, picture, different, connect. So all of these words that are helpful for students to develop a metacognitive awareness. Thinking about thinking, okay? The resolution is a bit difficult for me to read there, but you can see that the teacher has, you know, is trying to give the students an attractive display. Okay, so we have spoken about questioning, modeling. We spoke about exam wrappers, but they can be called lesson wrappers. We spoke about word banks, sentence starters, and we very quickly, I mean, the idea of a display is kind of obvious, right? You creating an environment for the students where the words that they need to reflect are around them, or different strategies that they might use for reading or other activities. So for your asynchronous task, what I would like you to do is to choose one of 3 activities, either the word bank or the, 2 activities, the word bank or the exam wrapper, whichever you prefer. And I'd like you to design your own, okay? So in the first part of the activity, what you have to do is describe the task, okay? So for example, in my class, you know, this was a lesson about this, and the students had to do this, this, and this. Or the students did a test. It was a, you know, end of trimester test, and it had grammar, vocabulary, writing, da, 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 da. Or this was a speaking activity. They had to give a presentation about their daily routine or whatever it is. And then you're going to provide your word bank reflection activity, which will be relevant to the activity that you described, or the exam or lesson wrapper, which will be relevant to the activity that you described. So basically what I'm asking you to do is to make your own, right? To personalize. I would like you to include at least 5 questions, okay? So 5 questions for the word bank. You would obviously need to give them the words that they might need to complete the question. Or in the case of the exam wrapper, 5 aspects of their performance. Maybe you include more options within each aspect, but at least 5 aspects, okay? I will post the instructions on the Google class as soon as we finish. I would just like to give you a friendly reminder that it is obligatory to complete the asynchronous tasks. And I just checked during one of the activities, and there are still quite a few teachers. The majority did upload, so that's great. Thank you very much. But there are still about 18 teachers out of 50 who haven't uploaded. So could you please make sure that you get up to date tomorrow, because otherwise you're going to start to fall behind and it will get really difficult to catch up. And remember, you can only pass the diploma if you carry out the asynchronous tasks. Okay. Can I also remind everybody that they must complete the link for the attendance. I already posted that as an announcement in the Google Classroom. So if for any reason you weren't able to do it during the session, do it straight away afterwards before you finish. Okay. And I hope you found today enjoyable. Teacher Veronica or Teacher Marisol, do you have any announcements before we wrap up?
Oh, sorry, I'm here. I was posting the links for those people that have not completed your assignments. Please go to the link that I just posted in the Zoom chat. There is the link to join Classroom, and those that have not completed your attendance, I also posted the link again. So it's already at the bottom of the Zoom chat. Remember, tomorrow is our 3rd day of session. Please be on time. The Zoom room will be open 10 to 1. We are trying to begin exactly on time so that we can cover all the material that is necessary. Those people that... Sorry?